Now, with news of yet more releases of hostages, I'm going to bring Nimroad Palmach into the conversation now. He's the reserve commander in the Special Forces Unit of the IDF, and he's the CEO of Israel is NGO, which is an organisation that helps to promote Israel around the world. Now, Nimroad, you've got this astonishing story because on October the 7th, you found out what had happened. You defied an order and raced to Gaza. You ran towards danger. You wanted to help people there who had come under attack by Hamas. You recorded a goodbye video to your 7-year-old. What did you say?
Truly, it was a very tough morning. I didn't know I had to choose. Am I a concerned dad, a concerned civilian in Israel, or during my job as a CEO of an advocacy organization, or am I an officer in the reservist? It was a very awful day, and when I made the decision to rush south, I knew I had only 3 minutes of a break when I waited for a friend, and there I recorded the video. Basically, I said goodbye to my kids, that I will always love them, and I will always be with them, and I know that they will be beautiful kids forever. It was a 20-second, no draft, that's it. I had only a few seconds to say goodbye.
But recording it, presuming that if you went into Gaza at that point, that you probably wouldn't come out alive.
So it's not entering Gaza, it's actually to entering the fights on the communities along the border. Yes. I actually accepted death. I knew I'm about to die either in a few minutes or hours, but I had only a pistol, realizing there's so many terrorists out there in those communities inside and the cities in the south, and knowing that there is no much help. People are trying to get there but not able, and I faced death. I have to tell you, it was one of the hardest things I had to do, but I made a decision with a full heart, and I knew that my kids one day will be proud of me for what I've done.
Yes, and then what happened that day? So you arrive there, you meet up with your friend, then what happened?
We went on the highway right outside one of the communities. We were attacked by a bunch of, let's say, 30 Hamas terrorists. I grabbed a weapon from a dead soldier, and I've witnessed a lot of death around me. For a moment there, in between shooting the terrorists, I stopped and I looked aside, and I've seen a second Holocaust right there on the highway, even before I entered Kibbutz Be'eri. I've seen so many dead people, dead bodies, women that were brutally attacked. I've seen young children at the back of a car, and I said to myself, you're in the middle of a Holocaust, what they have done to us here. And I engaged fight. For 3 hours, I was fighting there outside the community, preventing this group of terrorists entering Kibbutz Alumim and doing a massacre over there.
How do you even begin to process that? And I ask that in the context of the release of some of these hostages, particularly the children. There's lots of focus here because she's Israeli-Irish on Emily Hand, and she gets reunited with her father, but she looks broken to me. You know, a mother of 3, these kids look completely lost. You're a grown adult and you're trying to process what you saw. Yeah. How are these hostages who have been returned to their families, thank goodness, how are they processing it? Are they getting a lot of help?
Definitely. First of all, they are super surrounded by so many professional people, and they get so much love in Israel, all the hostages that got back. Listen, I think that today you won't find one heart in Israel that is not wounded or bleeding with pain, not even one. And regarding the hostages, you know, I fought inside Kibbutz Be'eri to liberate Be'eri from the atrocities all the way to midnight, even more. And on midnight, when I ran outside, running people under fire, one of them decided to stop. He was crying and emotional and kept stopping, and I kept rushing him out because we are under fire. When we got out, he told me that his father was murdered in the morning. He was trapped in the safe room, and then he said, I can't believe she is in Gaza. I asked him who, and he showed me a picture of a young girl, she's 16 years old, with Hamas terrorists doing a selfie with her phone.
Yes.
And I realized then for the first time we have actually kids and teenagers in Gaza. I didn't know, of course, the number, but these kids has a long way to recover. Hopefully they will. We'll give them any love that we can.
Now, I know you've done a lot of work with younger people. What are your emotions towards some of the Palestinian children caught up in this?
I feel very, very bad for them. In Israel, we have no issue with Palestinians. I mean, we have issue with Hamas. The reason we are there attacking because Hamas did an atrocities not just against Israel. It's a jihad war against Western society. And I chose a side of values like love, empathy, human rights. And Hamas brought this destruction and death upon his community, not just in Israel. And actually, as a soldier, I can say, and as an officer and reservist, we are moving so slow in Gaza because we are saving life, because we don't aim to harm any innocent lives.
I mean, are you concerned, and I appreciate your role as a reservist in the IDF, are you concerned about this issue of proportionality? I note that today the White House has said that they want the IDF to operate with, quotes, far greater precision in southern Gaza as they did in the north. I mean, that has to be the right advice, doesn't it?
Listen, I know that Israel needs to strike Hamas to a point where Hamas does not exist anymore. Exactly to say how will it go and what is the process we need. We are doing everything in our power not to harm civilians to a point where sometimes we even risk our life, and we understand it. But what Hamas is doing, using children, operating from schools, from clinic areas, from hospitals, he knows exactly what he is doing. He is taking children as body shields and uses them. So that's...
Can I ask you a political question? Because perhaps question marks have been raised about Netanyahu. Is he the right man to broker peace in the Middle East? Maybe people in your position might prefer former opposition leader Benny Gantz. I mean, he was in charge, of course, former chief of defence force. Would he be better placed, or is Netanyahu the person for this?
I know that everywhere in Israel now people are dealing with politics and what will happen on the day after. I know one thing, we need to win this war. And I'm giving any support to the government as long as I can. I know that for a fact, after the war will end, there will be a committee to investigate everything and to make decisions. I will let the professionals do their job. But for now, I give full back to my government to win this fight against evil.
What does winning the war look like to you, though? Because I can completely understand the impetus behind wanting to destroy Hamas.
Yeah.
But what happens next for Gaza? Who governs Gaza? What happens to the West Bank? I mean, I appreciate these are massive questions, Nimrod.
This is big questions. Listen, I know it's tough to defeat an idea, maybe even impossible. We want to eliminate Hamas' threat against Israel and against Palestinian people. That means that Hamas won't have the ability anymore to to harm innocent people, both in Gaza, in Palestine, and in Israel. That's what we want to achieve. Secondly, we want to make sure that people can live in safe places in Israel without being threatened. You know, they didn't just kill us over there. They brutally attacked women, sexually assaulted women, before and after they killed them. They brutally molested young boys and kids and families, full families. It's not just killing, it was actually Holocaust. And we want to make sure that people will feel in Israel, this is maybe the only place that you'll feel safe.
What role will you play in that as a reservist? Because I was imagine when you came back and you were reunited with your children after filming that final farewell, I mean, that must have been quite a moment. And then you face perhaps going into battle.
Yeah.
And obviously that comes with huge risk.
Yeah. I had a lot of small miracles. I was actually got shot in the chest. I wore a bulletproof vest that I took from a wounded soldier. It saved my life from a very close range. For me, it's a miracle to be here. And you know, when you're facing death in such close contact, you get to think a lot. For me, Israel is the only place. It's the only place that is actually safe for Jewish people. And I will do anything in my power that Israel will remain that country. And when I came back home and met my children, I gave them a huge hug. I felt that I earned. God gave me a blessing that day. And on the very next day, not day, even few hours, I got back to the army. I'm a company leader. I have around 80 soldiers that I command. And straight for almost 2 months of reserves. That's what we do.
That's life now. Nimrod, thank you very much for coming in and telling us your quite astonishing story.